The black beauties surrounded her from all sides. Chloe was afraid to move or even say a word, and then she felt the heat from backside touching her. Chloe was 61, but the way she moved, graceful, elegant, sure of herself, turned heads in her quiet California town. Her hair, long and silver blonde, framed her face like sunlit silk. Her eyes still sparkled with mischief, and her skin, kissed by warm western light, carried the softness of a woman who knew how to care for herself. She lived in a cozy one-story house with a neat garden and a view of the hills. Working as a remote psychologist, her days were spent listening to others' problems, helping them untangle their emotion, while hers sat hidden behind calm smiles and soothing tones. She earned well enough to afford the sleek silver coupe she had bought just last year. Her personal reward for a life lived with grace and self-control. But control had its limits. Her husband Peter had once been charming, but charm, she'd learned, could hide deep flaws. Gambling had sunk into him like rust into metal, and when the collectors came knocking, he had begged Chloe to save him. "Just this once," he swore. "Then I'm done. I'll pay you back, I swear." She paid the debt, not because she believed him, but because she didn't want to watch him fall apart. Not yet. This morning, she listed her car for sale. She hated doing it, but she had no choice. At 10:43 a.m., her phone rang. A man's voice, deep, calm, smooth as velvet, asked about the car. He didn't haggle. He didn't stall. "I'll be there in a few hours," he said. Chloe thanked him, but her heart beat faster than it should. That voice, it was the kind that wrapped around your spine and made you sit up straighter. She imagined someone tall, strong, beautiful in the way that men are when they know exactly who they are. 3 hours later, they arrived. Not one man, but 3. They stepped out of a sleek black SUV like something out of a dream Chloe would never confess. Tall, muscular, confident, young but fully formed. Each one dressed sharp, clean, fresh-cut hair, gold watches catching sunlight. One wore a tight black tee that clung to his sculpted chest. Another had a white tank stretched over shoulders like armor. The third wore a dark hoodie, the sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms carved in motion. Their skin shimmered with warmth, the kind of melanin glow that made Chloe feel like summer had walked straight into her home. Her gaze lingered. The one in black had eyes like honey in shadow, sharp, playful, knowing. The one in white had lips that curled into a half smile every time he caught her looking. And the one in the hoodie. He didn't say much, but the quiet power in his movements made her feel strangely small. And she liked it. They inspected the car casually, taking turns sliding into the driver's seat, checking under the hood. Chloe brought them coffee. She wasn't usually this thoughtful, but something about them made her want to please. She found herself adjusting her robe. Yes, she'd worn one of her prettier ones, and making sure her perfume still lingered. They stood close when they talked, close enough that she could feel the heat from their bodies. One of them leaned against her kitchen counter while sipping his coffee, looking at her like he already knew her secrets. Another one touched her hand, just briefly, when handing back the mug. And when the third asked to see the paperwork, he placed a hand on her lower back as he passed behind her. She didn't stop him. Her breathing changed, her fingers trembled, and they noticed. The tension in the house grew with each passing minute. It was no longer about the car, not really. The looks, the subtle touches, the way they positioned themselves around her. This was something else, something primal. Chloe, so used to control, suddenly felt surrounded by it. Not her own, theirs. And when one of them reached out to gently take her wrist and whispered, Why don't we talk somewhere more private?" She followed. Chloe led them down the hallway, her bare feet silent on the cool wooden floor. The air behind her thickened with anticipation, and she could feel their presence. 3 towering figures moving with quiet purpose, like predators that had already decided how the evening would go. She wasn't afraid. She was electric. They entered the living room, where soft afternoon light filtered through sheer curtains, giving the space a golden haze. Chloe stood near the center, uncertain what to say. She had always been in charge, with Peter, with her clients, with life. But now, standing before 3 men who looked at her like she was prey, beautiful, trembling prey, she felt something shift inside her. The one in black stepped forward first. His hand slid gently along her waist, firm but respectful. His eyes locked onto hers, searching for a boundary. She gave none. Her lips parted slightly. That was all the invitation he needed. He kissed her. Not fast, not rough. Slow, deep, possessive. The man in white stepped behind her, his breath grazing her neck, his hands moving slowly over her arms. Her body arched between them. And the third, quiet, observant, took her hand and kissed her fingers, then guided her gently to sit on the couch. They surrounded her like a living storm. Chloe's robe slipped open, silk parting like a sigh. No one rushed. Each man moved with control, knowing exactly where to touch, when to pause. There were no words, only looks, breathing, hands that mapped every line of her body like she was made to be explored. She surrendered, not because they demanded it, but because every nerve in her body begged her to. The woman who always had the answers let herself become the question. Time blurred. The walls echoed with soft groans and whispered names. They kissed her one by one, then together, their lips tracing along her collarbone, her shoulders, her thighs. Her fingers tangled in curls, clutched strong shoulders, slid across inked skin. The strength of their bodies overwhelmed her, in the best way. She was wrapped, held, lifted, adored. She had never felt smaller or more powerful. Their rhythm was perfect, their energy unstoppable. Chloe was caught in something bigger than her, a shared fire. They moved around her like a ceremony. Her body responded without hesitation. She cried out, again and again, not from pain or shock, but from a joy so intense it almost scared her. They took their time. They were in no rush to leave. By the time the sun dipped behind the hills, Chloe lay across her living room rug, her robe somewhere across the room, her body humming. The men sat around her, catching their breath, their skin slick with heat, their eyes still glowing with that same quiet intensity. No one said anything for a while. Eventually, they stood, one by one. They dressed slowly, still watching her with a kind of admiration that didn't need words. One of them handed her the signed paperwork. Another placed a thick envelope on the table beside the empty coffee mugs. And then, just like that, they left. No kisses goodbye, no promises, no mess. Just 3 men stepping into a car, the engine rumbling, the tires humming as they disappeared down the road. Chloe didn't move for a long time. She lay there, her hand resting on her chest, feeling her heartbeat thudding against her palm. Her lips were swollen, her skin flushed, her soul wide open. She eventually stood, wrapped herself in a throw blanket, and poured herself a glass of cold water. Her hands trembled as she drank. She stared out the window, the sun now gone, the sky purple and quiet. She had sold her car and bought something else entirely. When Peter came home an hour later, complaining about the heat, kicking off his shoes, asking what was for dinner, Chloe smiled. She said nothing. She just smiled. Peter didn't notice a thing. Not the slight shimmer on Chloe's skin. Not the faint scent of cologne that didn't belong to him. Not the way her smile lingered for a second too long when he kissed her cheek out of habit. He never noticed much these days. His mind was always somewhere else. Numbers, debts, false hopes of winning it all back. She served him dinner like always. Roasted vegetables, grilled chicken, poured his wine, listened to his usual monologue about almost winning big, about the next plan. She nodded, smiled, said all the right things. But inside, Chloe was drifting in a different current now. Later that night, she stepped into the bathroom while Peter snored softly in bed. She looked at herself in the mirror. Her hair was tousled from the rug, her skin glowing in a way no lotion or highlighter could explain. She studied her own face, leaned closer. There was something raw behind her eyes now, something unhidden. She picked up her lipstick and touched it gently to her lips. Then she smiled. Over the next few days, life returned to its usual rhythm. Peter left early for work, came back late with tired excuses. Chloe met with her clients online, her voice calm, her posture perfect. But underneath her blouse, her skin still remembered, her breath caught whenever she walked past the rug. The smell of coffee made her ache in ways she didn't know were still possible. She dreamed about them, the way they moved, the way they made her feel like she belonged to the moment, completely, without apology. Each of them so different, but unified in their confidence, their hunger, their power. She had been devoured, yes, but not broken, rebuilt. She started noticing things she hadn't before. How she carried herself differently. How men at the grocery store lingered longer in conversation. How even women seemed to look twice now, sensing something about her. Like she had a secret. And she did. One afternoon, she received a text from an unknown number. "We might be in town next week. If you're still selling anything, let us know." No name, no emoji. Just a message that made her legs feel weak. She stared at the screen for a long time. Then she typed back, "Not selling, but I've got something to offer," and pressed send. She told Peter she had a yoga retreat coming up. 3 days, women only, out of town. He barely looked up from his laptop when he said, "Sounds great. You deserve it." The following weekend, she packed a small bag, light dresses, her favorite perfume, no makeup. She didn't need it anymore. They met her just outside the city. Different car, same energy. The moment she saw them again, every thought of her quiet, controlled life vanished. She stepped into the back seat like a woman stepping through a doorway that no longer led to her past. The ride was silent, charged. She didn't ask where they were going. She didn't care. The house was large, modern, tucked into the hillside with wide windows and smooth wood floors. Inside, everything smelled like leather, spice, and skin. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. Their hands were on her within seconds. This time was different. No transaction, no coffee, no distractions. Only bodies, heat, and that fire. Immediate, endless. They undressed her like she was wrapped in silk and gold. They lifted her, kissed her, worshipped her. Time stopped. Her voice filled the rooms. Their names echoed off the walls. She forgot her name. She remembered everything else. When it ended, hours later, she lay across crisp white sheets, the sky outside turning black. One of them lay beside her, his fingers stroking her wrist. Another was still in the shower. The third was lighting candles in the corner, saying nothing, just watching her with that same quiet intensity. Chloe closed her eyes. She hadn't been saved. She had been awakened. And no matter how many dinners she cooked, how many smiles she gave, how many lies she told to keep peace at home, nothing could undo the woman she had become. She had found herself in the hands of 3 strangers, and she would never forget the taste of it. Never.